Oh, great. Well, thank you for the introduction. I'm glad that you like my Thanos mug. Um, and yeah, so a little bit about me and my talk. I've been using Vue for a long time since before the version 1. So yeah, it's almost 10 years now. And over the years, I've tried to contribute a little to the open source ecosystem that I was using a lot. But it's really this year that I got really more involved into open source contribution. And I decided to contribute a lot to Nuxt because I really love the work that was happening in Nuxt 3 and to contribute to NGS and all of the utilities and servers parts that are powering Nuxt 3. And so for this talk, I want to dive into authentication and how to do it with Nuxt. I've seen a lot of takes about authentication on Twitter of whether you should use a commercial third-party solution or if you should do it yourself. So yeah, this is the slide that kind of resume the situation where you have some people will argue for one side very convincingly that it's better to use a third-party solution like Auth.0 or Clerk or something like this because you want, as a developer, to focus on your app and you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And I've seen also the opposite take where you should own your authentication. And the great thing about Nuxt is that it gives you the ability to do both. And depending on what you prefer, you can choose the one that you have a personal preference for, or the one that is the most appropriate for your project. And one of the things that I love the most about Nuxt is the module system, and I think it's one of the best features that Nuxt has to offer. It is incredibly powerful, and a lot of the internal of Nuxt itself are being built with the module API directly. So it's not just something for third-party external module. It's something that is being used internally that can allow you to add features to the framework directly. So this can be combined with authentication. And if you are someone who build a lot of applications, you could create your own module, and then you could reuse your own internal module across all of your apps. So it's something that you would build only one time, and then that you would be able to reuse as many times as you want. And there is some commercial, some third-party community solution existing out there. And one of the interesting one is Auth.js. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Next Auth, but it is an authentication tool that was created for Next.js. And the Next team in December last year made a tweet about moving Next Auth to Auth.js and to become a framework agnostic authentication package that you can use to easily authenticate your apps without having to write a lot of the authentication boilerplate code. And they've added support for Svelte and Solid. And because I like using Auth.js, I decided to contribute a module, an Nuxt module, called Auth.js Nuxt, that I will demonstrate how to use it and how you can authenticate quickly an application with it. So this is based on Auth.js, and my inspiration for this module was another module called Nuxt Auth, which is currently the most popular one. And this one was made by a company called SideStream, and they used Next Auth to build it. So the difference between their module and the one that I created is like mine relies on Auth.js, which is a different code base, and it's very friendly with edge platforms such as Cloudflare Workers, for example. So with using Auth.js directly, you're not relying on Node.js APIs, so you can use it on different runtimes. So if you're looking into authenticating an application on Cloudflare Workers or on Ligon or on Vercel Edge runtime, any of these runtimes, you should definitely look into it. So we're gonna start from scratch, and we're gonna create. So let me zoom in a little, and let me know if it's too small or too big. But we're gonna create a small project to see how we can use it. So we're gonna use the Nuxt CLI, and we're gonna do Nuxt init Auth.js GitHub. So yeah, I kind of need to use my package manager first, and we're gonna use Bun because it's a new tool, and it's always interesting to showcase a new tool live. So this will generate a template directly from the official templates, which is great to kickstart a project. And now we can just run the dev command, and we already have our project working, and we're gonna see the next welcome page coming soon. There we go. So now what we're gonna build is a very small application that will use GitHub authentication. So if you want to follow along, you cannot need to go on your github.com settings developers and to create an OAuth apps. So you click here, and I've already created it. And here you'll see your client ID, your secret, and some settings that you have to fill. So since we're working locally, you need to set your homepage URL to localhost and your callback URL to API auth callback GitHub, because this is what the module will use to redirect your users after they're logged in through GitHub. So this means that for production, you will need to create a new OAuth application, right? So what we'll do here is I'm gonna just steal, because I've already done the talk before, I'm gonna steal the environment variable, and I'm gonna create an env file here, and I'm gonna paste them here. So you can see my secrets, so please do not use it, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, try to not share these things. So next, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna install the module. And actually, because we had the great talk from Anthony before about the Nuxt dev tools that are enabled by default, we're gonna simply install the module directly from the dev tools. So you can open the dev tool, click on Get Started. Then if you go on module, you can click on Install Module. And here you can look for Auth.js. And here I need some token. Okay. Oh, I need to copy it like this. And here, directly from the dev tools, I can install my module, which is really neat, and it makes for a great developer experience. So now we're gonna we're gonna start with the next configuration. So I'm gonna enable the typed pages, which is an experimental option that gives better type safety for the router. And because this is not about styling, I'm gonna use Pico CSS, which is just a style sheet that gives semantic HTML some nice styling. And you can see that GitHub Copilot is already doing most of the work for me. So we'll add the module. We'll add some configuration that is specific for this module. So you just need to do this for this module. This cookie alias, because otherwise you get an error. Then with Auth.js, so you could go on the documentation, right? If you've never used it before, and you'll see all of the steps for the next configuration. So you need a secret, and you need your GitHub client ID, your GitHub client secrets, and a few other settings. So I'm just gonna grab the file that I've already done here. And you can see I've added a secret, and in runtime config also a client ID and a client secret. This will be directly resolved to whatever value you have in your environment variable file. So these two. So that's why you can leave them empty. Right. So now let's replace the Nuxt world component by a Nuxt page component. And now we can create pages that index that Vue file. And here we're gonna create a template, and we simply Nuxt nation Auth.js. We're gonna create some simple file here. We're gonna save this, and now we're gonna go back to our localhost browser, and yeah, we're gonna restart the dev server, and hopefully everything should work, and we should see our title showing up on the page. Let me install the dependency again. Right. So in the meantime, I will show you like the server part that needs to happen. So you need to create a server route in API/auth and have like a catch-all file. So this will catch all of the API requests that are coming to the API auth route. And now we're gonna grab the GitHub configuration, and we're gonna paste it. So we're gonna go through it. So you can see here we are importing the GitHub provider from the auth core library that we also need to install. So we're gonna do bin-i auth core. We're grabbing the type, and we are grabbing the Nuxt auth handler from this, which comes from the Nuxt module that we've installed here. Then we are grabbing the runtime configuration with the use runtime config composable that is provided by Nuxt and is auto-imported. And then we use the GitHub providers in the providers array, and we paste the value from the Nuxt configuration. And this is all we need for the server part. So now what we need is to have some kind of UI that allows you to log in and log out. So what do we have here? If we now start the dev server again. And in the meantime, I'm gonna, it's complaining about some missing module, so I'm gonna install it. So I'm gonna create a guest page, an index page that we already have, a private page, and a redirect page. So let's start with the guest page. So we create a guest.vue file. And now we can call it guest page. Now we can create a private page. So you can think of the private page as like a profile page. So we'll just write private here. And finally, we can create a redirect page. And this is where we will redirect our user if they're not authenticated. There we go. So now if we start the dev server, everything should be working, hopefully. I tried everything before, but of course, when you try it live, there's always something that does not work. Maybe I made a mistake. All right, let me check if everything is working. Let's reinstall the dependency, and let's create our authentication code in the components. So you can see here, for example, this is the guest page. We are using the middleware feature of Nuxt, and this middleware comes directly for the module, which means that this page will be only available for guests. Then for the private page, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to use the middleware feature that comes from the module, and we're going to use the Auth middleware this time, which means this page will only be available for users who are authenticated. And now we're going to create a simple component that we can use to have the authentication UI. So I'm going to create a component navigation.vue file. And I'm going to create a template. And actually, because this is taking more time than what I imagined, I'm just going to grab the existing code, and I'm going to read it through. So the next module comes with this use auth method, which allows you to easily sign in, sign out, and display your user. So you have a sign in method, a sign out method, and a user method. So for sign in, we just create some simple UI and a button, and on click we call the sign in with the GitHub method. For the sign out, it's the same thing, and we're gonna display the user email and no user if there's nothing. And we also have 3 links for home, private, and guests in the homepage. So now, hopefully, if we run run dev, we should have everything working. And so this should be like this, because this is a mono repo.
And now if we refresh the page, there we go. We have our Nuxt Nation Auth.js module with our install module. And now what we need to do is to reference our components in the layout. So the component is auto-imported, so we can just do navigation like this. And we can also use a main here with a class of container so that it looks a little bit nicer. And there we go. So thanks to Pico CSS, we have something that looks a little bit cleaner. And we have a sign in, a sign out, and like some basic navigation. So if we click here, we get an error, page not found, redirected. Okay. I need to rename this to redirected. Okay, let's restart now and see. If our page is working. And it should be working. There we go. So now when we click on our private page, we are being redirected to the redirected page, and we have a guest-only page here. So now we're just gonna try to click the sign in button and see what happens. And you can see I've been logged in already into Google, into GitHub, and it grabs my email address. So if we go back to the auth dash, so a good way like to show what's happening would be to inspect here. I don't know if you can read. All right, and we can look at the cookies. And you can see the cookies have been added by the module, and that's why we are authenticated. And now if we click on the private page, we are here on the private page, and the guests page redirect us to the private page as well, because we are authenticated. So now if we sign out, you can see we have the entire flow working. And the code for this was relatively simple. Let me just reload the windows to have TypeScript working properly. Yeah, so you can see we just have like a very simple index page. We are using the define page meta composable from Nuxt to use the middlewares that are provided by the module. The server code really is a few lines of code that come like directly from the module. And the great thing is, because this is compatible with, because this is using Auth.js under the hood, you can use all of the Auth.js features. So for example, if you want to have your user being inserted into a database, you could use a database adapter. This comes from Auth.js. So you could use, depending on your database, you have pretty much everything that you'd want. Prisma is a very popular solution. So you would create a Prisma schema for your user, and then you can connect it to a Postgres database or like a MongoSQL database, or whatever you prefer using. And just like this, you have authentication working for an application that you can deploy on the edge, and that you can connect to a database very easily. And there was not a lot of code to write, because all of that logic is being done by the module. Okay, let's go back to the slides, and let's talk about authentication as a service. So authentication as a service, this is something that can be controversial, because if you're making an application and you have a lot of users, your application is being monetized by another SaaS company, and you're probably
already using Stripe and already using a lot of SaaS products. And that might be one of the reasons why many people dislike these options. They start monetizing as several thousand users, and there's many apps that shouldn't be really bothering too much about that, because they will never have that amount of users and they will always be on the free tier. Yes, this is a commercial solution, but it also comes with a lot of upsides. So it is feature rich. It is equally very quick to implement the most complex things. It comes with good developer experience. There's some support, and it's secure. So I'm adding a question mark here because there is dozens of commercial solutions, and I have not tested all of them personally. So I cannot make a blank statement and say all of them are secure. But if you go with the popular options, it might offer you more security than doing everything yourself. So this talk is not sponsored by anyone, but one of the most popular solutions for authentication is Clerk. And the Clerk has been exploding in popularity lately. I think it's a pretty new product. And they came out with a great React integration. So it was very straightforward for React. But at the time when I checked out, there was no Vue support, and therefore no Nuxt support. And the Vue support has been contributed by the community, by Robert Soriano. You should follow him on GitHub. He has a lot of contribution to the Vue ecosystem, and he made the Vue Clerk integration. So what we'll do is we'll go over the Vue Clerk integration now, and we'll see if we can make a Clerk example. So we're gonna go back and we're gonna Nuxt init a new project, and we'll call it Clerk. So we'll use done. Perfect. So now I need to change the name right here to Nuxt app Clerk. And then we'll install the dependencies. And once again, we'll start with the Nuxt configuration. So I'll just copy and paste it from what I've already done to go fast. And we'll use something very similar. We'll use the DevTools enable true, the type page root router, Pico CSS, and some Clerk specific configuration. So this is important. And for the runtime config, we need a publishable key and a Clerk secret key. So what we'll do is we're gonna go to clerk.com, and we're gonna create a new Clerk application, and we're gonna do it live because they have a generous free tier. So we can just go on the website, and we're gonna create a new application. We'll call it Nuxt Nation Live, and we'll authenticate with let's authenticate with Google, and we'll create it now. And you see Clerk provides you directly with these things ready to copy and paste. So I can just copy them. So if I go back to my VS Code, I create an environment file here. And now I'll change this to Nuxt, and this one I'll prefix it with Nuxt. And I'll just add some quotes to so that it looks prettier. And that's it for the environment variable and for the configuration for Clerk. And while you can build your own UI with Clerk, we're gonna use the pre-built UI and see where that gets us. So because there is no module for Clerk now, and maybe someone there wants to build one, you cannot have to do your own module. So to do this, we're gonna create Nuxt plugins that we'll call Clerk. I think that needed to be plural. And we're gonna import Clerk plugin from Vue Clerk. That also needs to be installed. Here you'll see the only thing that we need to do is to use the Vue Clerk plugin with Nuxt API. We grab the configuration, runtime configuration key, and we pass it to the plugin. And to get started, that's the only thing that you need. And so now we can start working on the UI. So here we'll replace the default component with some basic layouts. We just have like a main div, a nav, Nuxt page, and we have 2 links, one for the home page and one for the sign-in page. So for Clerk, these are not mandatory. So we'll create an index page and also a sign-in page. And for the index page, this is going to be very simple. We're going to use the Vue Clerk components that are provided to us. So you can see here, by importing from Vue Clerk, I'm getting this organization switcher component and this user button. So I'm simply going to plonk in the components in my index page. And now for my signing page, this is extremely simple as well. I'm grabbing the signing component. I'm just plonking it here. As you can see, there is nothing fancy. And so now we can start the dev server. And we can see if we have something working or not. So right. So now if we open localhost again, we can see we have like the Clerk host app on the index page. So this is what we're seeing right now. So I'm going to try to go on the signing page. So let me zoom a little. And here we have the sign-in component that is provided by Clerk. So I'm simply going to click on continue with Google. It's going to ask me to authenticate with Google. So I click on my username. And now I can see I'm being redirected here. And I can see that I'm already logged in. And the Clerk components show me my information about my Google stuff. Also, like come with some basic user management features, so you can delete accounts, see your active devices. That's one of the great things about using something commercial solution. It's like all of these things comes for free. It tells you like the amount of signups, the active users, total users. It gives you a lot of features that would be quite time consuming if you were to build them yourself. So if you need all of these features and you need something to get started very quickly, this is roughly as fast as Auth.js, but it has the benefits of coming with like their own a database that is provided by Clerk to manage your users. And maybe for the app that you're working on, this is the ideal choice, because you don't need to worry about building it yourself if you have all of this coming in on the free tier. Right. So that was for Clerk. And finally, let's talk a little bit about like the do-it-yourself solution.
Hey, quick question, Emmanuel. We actually have a few questions for you before we wrap up, and we are running out of time. Do you have something quick to finish this one up by chance, or shall we just go to the questions?
Yeah, I'll be very quick, just 1 minute.
Sure.
For the do-it-yourself, because I already have it prepared, we won't do like the live coding. And Sebastian already showed it a little. So you can build the same type of application that we built before, but without any dependencies. So here we just create manually a route for our OAuth with GitHub. And here we make the request directly to the GitHub UI. And this is basically all that you need. And then you can just grab your user directly from the cookie. And you can display the cookie username, the username, and the avatar that are coming from your OAuth, so from GitHub. So this is something that will be easier to do with the Nuxt Auth core, which will be an official module that will come probably next year, that will provide you with some composable and server utility to build your own authentication. And because we don't have much time, I quickly want to mention other good commercial solutions. They're Firebase with a very good Nuxt module. Supabase has also one. Hanko, Daniel Rowe, who just created a module recently. If you want to build things yourself, you can use Lucia or Oslo, that are very popular solutions that allows you to kind of build it yourself as well with some primitives that are provided. And yeah, about me, you can go on Emmanuel.style if you want to have like my GitHub link and my Twitter link. And yes, sorry if I run out of time. I was expecting the live coding to go a little bit faster. But hopefully I was able to show you a few different ways that you can use to authenticate your Nuxt applications.
Yes, and thank you, especially for showing us your Twitter handle and things like that too, because I was like, I need to go follow them. That is going to be great. So thank you. A couple questions really quick before we go on to our panel next. Do the methods you've shared work on both server and client side? If not, what kind of adjustments would someone need to make?
For the Auth.js, the first example that I've shown, this will work with SSR out of the box. For the Clerk one, I haven't checked, but if you go, I'll paste the link, but if you go to, there's a Nuxt starter template that includes another like package called H3 Clerk. I think you need this one if you want to do some, you need to add a middleware for the server, basically. So in the starter template, everything is well documented. So you can use this as a reference point for Clerk. But if you're building it yourself, this is something that you have to take into consideration. But with Nuxt, it's pretty straightforward. So yeah, to answer your question directly, for the first one, yes. And for the second one, I'm not sure.
Great, thank you. And last question is it possible to use other providers for the example email with OTP with this module?
Yes, you can use all of the Auth.js compatible providers. So for OAuth, you'd have like Google and Microsoft, Twitter, like all of the non-provider. You also have a credential providers that you can hook up with your database directly. So that allows you to do some email authentication. And if you want to add some OTP, I think you might have to write a little bit more of custom logic. I would need to double check this. But with Auth.js, you can use multiple providers simultaneously. So if you want your application to have OAuth options for people who like to log in with social media accounts and email authentication for people who don't use social media, the module is quite flexible, so you can do it.
Great. Thank you so much. And y'all make sure to go follow on Git and on Twitter so that way you can ask all the questions there too. Thank you, Emmanuel.
Thank you, and goodbye.